Welcome back to the Goodol'boys channel. So what we're doing today is taking care of these bushings that go in the wheel for the sprocket. They're Sprocket Dampening bushings. So I found one place in the entire United States that carries these bushings. It'll fit the Hawk 250 here. I also have a Honda part number for you guys, which that will be coming later in this video because I want to make sure that those will fit for you guys. So anyways, Everet Powersports has these. Again, I'll put the information in the description box below. So like I said, they're for the sprocket. Now you guys can see we already have the bolts in here. It's kind of funny that people think the bolts hold the sprocket on. They don't. All the bolts do is hold these 4 pins in. 4 pins slide into the bushings, and then you have a snap ring that actually holds the sprocket onto the wheel. So now that that's out of the way, we have our bushings here, and I don't know about you guys, but I seem to need to replace these about every 1,000 or 800 miles. I don't know why, they just go bad very quickly for me. What I have here is a bearing pulling set. For these sprocket bushings, you kind of need a bearing pulling set. I'll show you guys this thing up close. This is what it looks like. As you tighten this together, it spreads these fingers, as you can see, and that's what pulls your bearing or bushing or whatever else you have that you're going to thread this thing into. All right, so I have one of the bushings out here. You can see there's no center and there's no rubber. Obviously, this is what the bushing is supposed to look like, and this is what our bushings look like. So what I found out is that in order to pull these out, you kind of have to get rid of the rubber part, and I'll show you guys how to do that. And then you can put your removal tool in there and pluck it out of there. So guys, I found out the hard way that if you don't remove the rubber from the bushing, you can actually break your tool, and I'll show you guys exactly what I mean.
There you go, some of it came. Oh no.
That was the puller.
What the heck, man?
So as you can see, you need to remove the rubber from the bushing. Now here is how you remove the rubber and complete the removal process without breaking your tool. We're gonna focus on this one bushing here. You can see it still has the rubber inside of it. So what I figured out here is that it helps to punch the rubber out. So all I'm gonna do is put the removal tool here. This is a 20mm removal tool, and I'm just gonna punch the rubber into the bushing. Then you can take the rubber and pull it out with a pair of needle nose pliers. And you can see the bushing looks a whole lot more hollow. So now what we're gonna do is put our removal tool back in here and crank it down. There we go. And there's your bushing removal. We are going to go ahead and clean up the wheel with this degreaser. It's just going to make it easier to work on. The wheel's cleaned up. We're ready to put the bushings back in. Now, before we do, I want to show you guys a trick so you can get your bushings out 5, 10,000, however many thousands of miles down the road with ease. And this is the trick, NIC's lubricant. So all we're gonna do with this is pretty simple. Gonna take and brush a healthy amount inside the inner bushing surface and all of the bushing holes. You can also go a step further and coat the outside of the bushings, but I don't think it's totally necessary. And then obviously you can see how easy they slide in compared to how they came out. And that bushing is already about 3/4 of the way in there just by hand. So now we're gonna put the rest of these in here. So we have 1 or 2 of these bushings that needs tapped in. You just wanna be careful when you're tapping these in, but pretty amazed that all the bushings have pretty much just hand pressed into this thing. So like I said, I'm pretty darn happy. You want to make sure not to press these in here too far because they can go into the casting too far. Basically, you want the edge or the face of the bushing to be flush with the face of the sprocket seat on the back here. There, you guys, a close up. So you can see that the face of the bushing is flush with this flat surface here on every bushing, of course. I just want to include this little bit of information about torque spec on these bolts here for the sprocket. I haven't messed with these. When they came off the bike, they were all loose, and I'm 100% sure it's because of the bad bushings. But if the bushings go bad again, I don't want these to come loose. So this, of course, is not a factory torque spec, but I'm going to figure out a torque spec that will work. So I got a new sprocket here. 42 tooth sprocket. We're gonna put this new sprocket on here and I'll come back at you with the torque spec. I live in Ohio where things rust and never come apart, so I'm gonna put a little bit of anti-seize on here on each stud as we go. Before I slide this together, I'm also just gonna take my finger and put some anti-seize on these little studs or dowel pins, whatever you wanna call them. Actually, put some around the edge of this so the sprocket's got something to rotate on if it's smooth. All right, now you guys will notice the sprocket's not wanting to drop down in here, so I've tightened these down a little bit so they're not exactly lined up. So sometimes you'll have to loosen them in order to get them to go down in there. All right, perfect. I'm not going to be able to get my snap ring on here, so what I'm going to do is actually go around this thing with the old sprocket and just tap these bushings down a little more. All right, that looks a lot better. Don't forget to put your snap ring on. We only use the best tools and techniques on this channel. All right, there we go. You guys can see what I did there to set the snap ring. We have foot-pounds on this side, and we're set at 0 on 30 foot-pounds. Yeah, that's not too bad at all. I think 30 foot-pounds is just about right. It's not too much, it's not too little. It's gonna be easy to take your sprocket nuts off, and it's also not gonna be over tightening these. So I would say 30 is exactly where you wanna be on your torque spec. All right, guys, so here's some of the bushings that I have. We're gonna go over some similarities, differences, and I also promised you guys a Honda part number, so we're gonna go over that in a minute as well. First of all, I guess I should explain, these are the bushings that I actually have in the Hawk 250 right now that you guys saw me put in this video. These are bushings that I bought from Walmart, so we'll call those Walmart bushings, and this is an original Hawk 250 bushing. So for the packaging, this is what we look like here. And if you're looking for these Everet Powersports bushings, look up these part numbers here. You can also see they're made in Japan. Packaging on these looks a little cheaper. It says they're high quality supposedly, and it says motorcycle genuine parts. So you're probably asking, what's the difference in price? So over here, it's $20 for 4 bushings. Over here, you've got $15 for 12 bushings. With the difference in price comes a difference in quality. You guys could see that these were made in Japan. These, I'm sure, are pretty good quality bushings. These bushings over here, they don't really say where they're made. It might be in the ad description but who honestly knows where they're made? I can tell just by looking at these that the centers of some of these are not exactly right. For example, this one here, you can see this side is thicker than this side, which is thinner. So these weren't drilled or set up exactly right. So you can tell that these are a little lower quality than these Japanese made bushings. So where did I get them from? These ones here came from eBay, came from these people. There'll be a link to those in the description box below. These bushings came from Walmart. They came from these people. There will also be a link to these in the description box below. All right, so here's a quick comparison between all three bushings. Of course, these bushings are in the bike, so I can't exactly compare these. All three of these bushings will fit the Hawk 250. Basically, you got the same inner and outer diameter on all three of these bushings. You guys probably saw here real quick that we have a little bit more narrow of a bushing. That's the same for both the Everet Powersport and the Walmart bushings on that. And keep in mind the rusty one is the original Hawk bushing. Also, if we look in the center here, you can see that the Hawk 250 bushing is a little thicker in the center. It has nothing to do with the size. Like I said, the inner diameter is exactly the same on all these bushings, and so is the outer diameter. Now for the Honda part number, it's stamped right on these, so I'm just going to breeze through real quick. It's 41241-222-000. If that was too quick for you guys or whatever, it'll be written out in the description box below. You can type this part number into Google and it'll come up with many different options for bushings. You could even buy the genuine Honda bushing if you wanted to. Now for the next question. Which bushing should you go with? In all honesty, it's really up to your own opinion. All these bushings are same the size-wise. Basically, your differences are going to be how quick do you want it, how much do you want to spend, and what quality do you want. Well, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Check that description out below. There's all the information on Hawk 250 sprocket dampening bushings, as well as some Hawk 250 videos. And I'll catch you guys on next video. Peace.
Woo!
It's all about humanity.